Or a gawker? Which might you be? My feet stilled and my spine locked. The audacity! None of your business, thief. What has you convinced that I'm a thief? Lowering to the floor, I carefully set the babes on the ground, catching one when it began to crawl away. You're in a cell, I said as if he were daft. So if I were you, I'd be quiet, unless you wish to start bleeding your pleas to the goddess. Though the words were low, humor drenched each one. Is that a threat? No wonder you wound up here, I muttered, showing the Narlos to the bowls of water and grain. Utterly stupid. Only two of them were interested, the smaller creature's eyes closing as it curled upon the bedding. He laughed as he said, "It was a joke, fire breather." Spend more time praying you won't die and less being an idiot. A snort had me whirling to glare at him. Words fell into fragments over my lips. Eyes of gold so pure and bright, as if they'd been dipped in gilded honey, narrowed. It was then that my shock and annoyance faded enough for me to pay attention to his scent. Geranium and oak with an edge of soot. Boots, pointed and leather, still covered his feet. A dark plum cloak was draped over him like a blanket. His raven, shoulder-length hair shined within the dim light of the sconce above the door I'd entered through next to his cell. A criminal's hair would not shine. But it was his features that truly gave me pause. As shadowed as they were, I saw enough. Those eyes, the severity of the sharp lines of his cheeks, and his strong jaw. A part of me wondered if the luminosity of his gaze made him easier to see in the shadows. It was my turn to ask, "Who are you?" I had a feeling he was not a thief at all, not with clothing and a face like that, not to mention his cultured tone and rotten attitude. My heartbeat slowed, then grew faster. He wasn't from Kalula. The scent and eyes alone confirmed as much. Rather than answer, the stranger shifted his lupine gaze to my side, to where one of the babes had crawled. Cursing, I carefully grabbed and held it within my cupped hands. "They need their mother," he said. "Her pouch and her milk." He didn't get to do that. Make me feel worse for them than I already did while evading what I'd asked. Leaning against the stone wall, I placed the babe in my lap and reached for the other two. "I asked you a question." A thick brow rose. "You must be the princess." "What gave me away?" I said with heaping sarcasm, stroking a finger between the sleepy Narlo's membranous, pointed ears. It nuzzled into my touch, fuzzy black hair softening around its pig-like nose. "One would have to be exceptionally daring or part of the royal family to bring forbidden creatures into Kalula Castle." He paused, then said, "My name is Colvin." My blood turned a shade colder, my eyes slowly meeting his. "As in Prince Colvin?" Moon above, it couldn't be. That the Unseelie prince would be held prisoner here, or anywhere. He nodded once. "But—" I shook my head, more confused than I was afraid. "Why?" Kalula and Eldorn had been at peace for many millennia. To capture royalty was an act of war, an act of pure stupidity. To capture and imprison the Prince of Eldorn was a signed death warrant. My uncle was cold, insufferably and naively narcissistic, but he was no fool. So what beneath the rotting moon had happened? "I don't wholly understand it all myself," the prince finally said. "But Mother said I am to behave."